Hello and welcome to the Two Robbies Podcast, your destination for in-depth discussion and analysis of the Premier League. I'm Robbie Mustoe, he's Robbie Earl, and here are today's topics. Liverpool put in a scintillating performance powered by goals from Mo Salah and Dominik Szoboszlai to topple Man City 2-0 at the Etihad. Arsenal's title chances are dealt a brutal blow after a Lewis-Skelly red card contributes to a difficult 1-0 loss at home to West Ham. Marco Asensio makes a statement at Villa Park by bagging a brace in a 2-1 comeback win against a struggling Chelsea side, and Manchester United salvage a 2-2 draw at Everton, but not without some late VAR controversy at Goodison Park. That's what we've got coming up in today's episode.
Okay, my friend. I think we're suggesting definitive weekend. Possibly.
Yeah.
Along those lines. I mean, listen,
we're not in March yet.
Nothing's
It's crazy to say that.
But indications, deep indications of how things might pull out. We have to sort the Etihad because this was the blue chip game of the weekend. Manchester City, reigning champions, against Liverpool, hopeful champions. Coming into the game, Rob, City just off the Real Madrid defeat that knocked them out of the Champions League, so morale not great, having won 4-0 last week against Newcastle. Liverpool team that had come off a couple of draws, a couple of wins. A win against Wolves, was it a draw against
Everton and then Villa.
And then Villa.
In the weekend.
So, some were suggesting maybe is this the blip, the start of the pressure, they're going to City. Give us your takeaway of how Liverpool dealt with the occasion and got the job done.
I think, in summing up this game, I think it's pretty short, actually. It was a bit of a tactical game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And Arne Slot played a different way. We always see him play 4-3-3, but he's doing something a little bit different nowadays with a different setup in midfield. 2 10s or 2 false 9s, whatever you want to say, was midfield players in Szoboszlai and Curtis Jones with Gravenberch and McAllister kind of holding behind that, and different, and making the middle very thick and hard to play through, and accepting that Man City were probably going to have a lot of the ball, which they did, but they held them to very little opportunities, particularly in the second half. First half was a little more open, and it was just an indication that Arne Slot is okay going somewhere and not having to dominate with the ball, comfortable in his own skin, that they can go there and let them have possession, knowing that they got so strong defensively and the goalkeeper and the midfield setup, and it worked beautifully.
So almost counter-attack-esque in that, sitting back, semi-counter-attack. We know we've got Salah, we know we've got Diaz up top with a bit of pace. Szoboszlai's ability to get forward to him. And it was interesting. So for me, Rob, there's a couple of takeaways, and I think Slot has to gain a lot of credit, because I kind of feel like he'll adapt a little bit to the opposition. And I saw it day one at Ipswich, and I keep going back to that, and I've seen it in day 26 today, where he understands that Man City will have more possession, but that doesn't mean they're going to win the game. And so he set his team up, and my takeaways were his ability to adapt and kind of nullify strengths of others, but his ability to get the buy-in from all the players. I thought there was an incredible buy-in to what they wanted to do, which on a day, Rob, when it wasn't a great passing day, you weren't going to have loads of dribbles, you weren't going to do a lot of the fun stuff you like, you had to do a lot of the other stuff that doesn't really get noticed, and we try to put a breakdown to give a little view to some of our viewers of how Liverpool set up and how difficult that is, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants to play a game of football where they don't have a lot of possession, and I think they're happy to do that. I mean, maybe it's easier when if you're in that dressing room, Rob, something's kind of specials going on right now with the way they are on the league table, with the manager they've got. And I think you can get to anything. You can get them to anything when they're that clear. Listen, guys, play this way. The running from every single player.
I would go back to, and I get your point, but I think it's when Mo Salah runs 50 yards to get back behind Trent Alexander at a certain point in the game. I think that's more than just getting them to do.
But I don't know. I think there's more chance of him doing that when they're on this run and they're getting close to a title.
Maybe a good point.
I mean, it happens to all the teams at the top of the league table. It's not. This isn't just a Liverpool. If you're up there and you're having a great season, sadly, mate, I never got to that point in the Premier League table.
Lee Dixon, Graham Lascelle,
they know what's going on.
Don't they?
They're fired up. They're revved up every day training. They're at it. They're at it. Whatever the manager wants, they'll do it. And it's a good example of that. I mean, some of the performances and some of the movements, and they had a great move, Rob, didn't they? They played it right through from back to front, didn't end up in the goal. So it wasn't a glamorous the goals were very clever. The first goal was a really smart...
Beautiful, smart, set piece routine from the training ground.
The day before.
And they did the first corner, by the way. They thought, let's get this done early and see if we...
the dressing room will be... when you worked on it, you worked the day before, and the instruction will be, first corner, we're going to do
for it. Yeah, it's in everybody's head. Everybody knew their role.
First corner.
Perfectly worked. Perfectly worked.
Yeah.
Second goal, obviously courtesy of Salah assisting
Szoboszlai,
who
was great,
excellent during the game. And they get the goals, and in the end... I thought they managed Manchester City quite well. It's not the best Manchester City team. We know these, some of the younger players were in the team. Some of the older players who were coming towards the end of the cycle were in the team. The De Bruynes and the Foden's couldn't really influence the game in the way that we've known and we've seen over the years.
Yeah. Switching over to City a little bit. Yeah, I mean, Pep afterwards said we played good, there was moments, there's parts of the game that was good, that they possessed the ball well, they got it into wide areas. Pep likes it when he gets the one-on-ones. He either wants to attack through the middle or he wants to attack on the outside. So this is a wingers game, they had wingers on both sides. He had Doku going past Trent Alexander-Arnold quite a few times. We showed it in our half-time of the game. But after that, there was nothing else. And he said that, to be fair. I know Erling Haaland wasn't playing.
Mamouche Who gives them some addition, don't they? Because you can play however you want, but Haaland in that box would have affected something.
Is going to be getting closer to some of those crosses from Doku. Now, the final ball from Doku wasn't great, but there wasn't many people in the box. But they can't have everything. And when they give the ball away, when you've got Phil Foden, Kevin De Bruyne, as part of a midfield three, by the way, Nico Gonzalez,
young kid in there,
he's on his own defensively, and the other two don't really want to defend.
There wasn't a lot of cover, was there? There wasn't a lot of great cover. We have to talk Mo Salah, I think, for a moment. 25 goals, 16 assists. Incredible numbers. I think, he's up there with the very best. I think third now in Liverpool history of goals behind Roger Hunt and Ian Rush.
Yeah.
I think Bex asked us, didn't we? I said before the game, Rob, it's almost like when this guy leaves English football, we'll talk about the Salah role. Wide playing, goal scoring, who runs from out to in, so he's not marked by central, and it's the Makelele is the one that we all go back to, that defensive midfield player that's now become key to teams. I think the Salah role might be a role that kids centre forward who would normally be centre forwards might look at that and say, actually, from the right, you're not up against the big centre backs. You run a lot of times freer from those wide areas. Could that become a thing?
Well, I mean, I think at the highest level it is a thing, isn't it? It is a thing. Of course, it's left-footed as well. So that's part of it as well.
On the
it'll come inside. And we're seeing this a lot with teams that, and Bournemouth scored a goal like that for Brentford when he comes inside his left foot. So there's that has existed, but I think you're right. He was the first one really for a long period of time to be so successful at it.
These numbers, this kind of numbers.
It's so consistent. We know his contract's up at the end of the season. Looking at the condition that he's in, he looks as fit as anybody out there.
Well,
he plays every week.
He's impeccable.
He never wants to come off.
He trains. He never, he's disappointed when he comes off. You've got to think this will be resolved, don't you, between now and the end of the season?
I mean, for the good of the sport and football, stay on, Mo. Stay on. The Premier League, stay on. Enjoy more potential success. Live that legacy even longer. Break even more records. Be an incredible legendary. I mean, he already is, but add to that. For another, he knows himself, Rob, when he's coming off of his sharpness or his quality. And then he might want to go somewhere else and come down the levels a little bit, whether it's go back to Saudi, or go to Saudi, I should say. If that appeals to him, I don't know. But I mean, why? He must, whether it was a long contract, whether he's asking for crazy money, he's telling you everything, that he's fit, effective, sharp, hungry, to be ready to sign a contract of multiple years. But we're having to wait for that.
Yeah, we will. I've got one of those questions, and I hope you can take it the right way, because it's one of them, like, it's a little bit like, well, it'll never happen. But today I was thinking about the heavy metal football that Klopp used many times. A couple of times they, almost had too much intensity for a Liverpool team and won games off this crazy kind of pace in which they play. Today's game was very different from Liverpool, today's win. And under Slot, it looks to me like they've maybe got a couple of different ways of doing it.
Yeah, definitely have.
If Arne Slot's Liverpool came up against Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool...
Well, there's I think of two different types of...
Response.
I think of Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool.
Yeah.
His
the heavy metal first one with Henderson, with
Wijnaldum and Fabinho was in midfield.
That midfield, and then Bobby, Firmino, Mo Salah, and Mane up the top end of the pitch.
I think that might. I think that
break
might.
through.
Yeah, I think that might.
It's interesting.
Don't know.
Yeah.
But it's a good question. I mean, in the latter part of Jurgen Klopp, he struggled to be as effective without going crazy all the time.
Yeah.
But that's what Slot's done so well. That they can win in different ways, at different paces. There's a durability about them.
I agree. I think that very top end.
When you think about the very best Klopp Liverpool team and
what we've seen so far, listen,
it might get better.
It
might get better.
So, exactly.
Possibly.
Yeah, it was just one of them that come to me. I thought I'm going to ask Musty that on the podcast, but it'd be great to see, wouldn't it, if you could have those kind of games where Salah would have to play for both sides.
I mean, Szoboszlai, Robert. Just touching him quick because
you made a good point about him
I just thought the work that he gets through.
He doesn't get that much attention, does he?
He hasn't done, right? But I think. And maybe I'm not saying that that's wrong because his numbers. I had his numbers somewhere. I think it was 24 appearances, 3 goals, 2 assists. Not amazing. He does really good work in there. He's a worker, but I think he's coming to a different level. And the manager understands more about what he's like. He can play as a highest player, can play as a central. He can play in different spots. It's just his running power that I love because we both know how hard it is in that speed of game. To go from one end to sprint back to sprint forward again. He's got quality on the ball. He assisted today and scored a goal today. I think he, in that midfield, is something that, gosh, the manager's done a good job there, Robert. Gravenberch, reinvented Gravenberch. McAllister, we know his quality. He's just a really good player. And you bring in Szoboszlai as well.
Szoboszlai, Rob, and the manager, and I think this is where Slot just is. There was a period about maybe a couple of months ago when he kind of dropped Szoboszlai and just said his productivity not, and Jones came in, and it was probably the little kick up backside the Szoboszlai because he's come back looks like a different player, and he's got an incredible energy and industry from midfield.
And what's interesting as well today, if you want a direct comparison, the position played by Jones and Szoboszlai were exactly the same. They both played in those false tens, so they're up the centre, but just a little bit deeper, and they both did it. And there was one player that was outstanding and one was good. Curtis Jones did a great job, was good. But Szoboszlai, blimey. Because you see him operating in the same way, shows what he can do in that position. The capacity that he's got in his game to be very effective. I just thought him, of course there's many others today, but I just thought, wow, the running power of that guy, and from the first whistle to the very end, he's sprinting. Just to finish up on Man City, Rob, in terms of where they are. And you said afterwards, particularly with Kevin De Bruyne, it looked a little sad,
just a bit like it's the end's coming and we can all see it. And I want to remember Kevin De Bruyne, who games like today dominated the game. The game was played through him, and he was a bit on the outside of it today. He couldn't quite affect it.
And they had plenty of the ball.
Yeah, they did.
So there's no real reason why it wasn't as though they didn't get much of the ball. They had loads of the ball. He didn't.
I read a lovely line the other day, Rob, where they said Kevin De Bruyne is still got that magical touch. It's just 2 or 3 gears below where it was. And that's, I think, where he is, Rob. I think physically now he's not those demands of the Premier League at that speed, at that intensity, and he's got way bigger and better than when we were playing. Just means he's a bit short.
In some ways, I was a little surprised he started.
He didn't play in Madrid, did he? So I don't know if
there's a little bit of rotation going on. But when you think of him, Ilkay Gundogan, Bernardo Silva. Coming to the end.
To a certain degree.
They're kind of around that 30, just over 30. And they've been magnificent champions. It's unbelievable what this team has done. But it definitely feels like we're into an evolving situation.
My sense, and again, listen, I don't know at this point. My sense he'll keep one of them around for what they bring. I think Bernardo Silva will be the one.
But Bernardo Silva often he wants to go, doesn't he? He's like
he's ambitious. He wants to
go back to Spain
or
wherever he wants to. He's just a long time away from home.
We'll see, but Liverpool get the job done in a different way, but just as impressive.
11 points clear, Rob.
11 points clear at the top of the table. It's one hand for me, mate. It's one hand on it.
Yeah, for me, at least one hand.
Just based on today, we've got to see an incredible drop of a team that's not going to be robust enough. I just don't see it.
Yeah, and they haven't got many injuries.
No.
The bench was stacked in all areas. They're looking great.
Let's go to
somebody not looking quite so great.
Wasn't quite so great. So Arsenal playing West Ham, after all the furore of Mikel Merino scoring a couple of goals for Arsenal, he started up the top of the pitch this weekend with Trossard one side, Waneri the other. everybody at Arsenal, I think, is feeling like, we solved the Kai Havertz problem, let's just get this done. And this Premier League doesn't work like that. Came up against, I thought, a very well set up and structured West Ham team for Graham Potter, who's just finding his way at the football club. Jared Bowen gets the only goal of the game to give West Ham the win.
Yeah.
And, I mean, before Liverpool had even played, I kind of felt as though Arsenal fans, Arsenal players, Mikel Arteta talked about being very, very angry after the game, which is quite. He generally tries to hold those emotions
difficult,
back.
Rob. Though I mean, listen, he's angry after the game, but this team has done so well in the face of so many injuries and some problems to keep hanging in there. Every podcast we're like, they're hanging in, they're hanging in there. They find a way to win. They're still close. They've closed the gap a little bit. I mean, deep down, mate. Deep down, I'm thinking.
You or him? I'm
talking about me, and I want to ask you as well. Deep down, I'm like, it's going to be hard to keep close to Liverpool. It's going to be hard, and and loads of kudos for the manager, and I love his hunger, Mikel Arteta, and he's whipping them, and he's trying to keep them up there. But today or this weekend, maybe one game too many. When you Moreno up front, you haven't got Saka, you haven't got...
They didn't particularly play well. They give a bad goal away. You did a breakdown on our YouTube channel.
Tactics
channel where Declan Rice doesn't quite see the job off. Again, that might be a bit of tiredness, mental and physical. I'm almost disappointed for him and the team because I felt like they deserved to be a bit, hang in there a bit longer. That was my point. And to do it on a day when you don't quite turn up is just hard to take.
Yeah, and I keep going, Rob, and it's not mathematical yet. Sure. I think because Saka is back in mid-March, is it?
Martinelli, maybe not.
Kai's going to be out, isn't he?
Yeah, he's done for the
season. It's very difficult.
Should they have looked in the window, Rob? The window's done now, and I know it's absolutely, what do they call it, Monday quarterbacking or whatever the phrase is, like, after the event. But would it be worth a gamble on somebody? An insurance policy, if not, even if it's not a starter, somebody from the bench who can come on, because they didn't really have that yesterday at the weekend.
Well, there was a bid, wasn't there, for Ollie Watkins? I'm not sure how serious that bid was for Ollie Watkins, wasn't it? It's a random 40 million or something for this guy. Other than that, it was a little quiet. It's really easy, Rob, right? So let's just think about this. It's really easy for people to say, well, they should have got somebody in January, that's what I'm saying, and then straight afterwards, Kai Havertz goes out, and look, see, you should have got somebody. I just think it's easier to say that.
Correct.
Getting the right person in that's going to fit with the club, that's going to have the right qualities. I mean, you think you can get an out-and-out number 9, one of the best around in January? I think that's difficult. Right?
Okay.
Now, if you can find a younger... Because when you look at the squad in general, they're lacking centre-forwards. If Kai Havertz is not really a striker, then they maybe need, 2 strikers. Jesus has been out injured. Is there an argument there's a young one out there somewhere?
That's what I'm saying. Somebody who...
I'm talking about for the future. You don't just waste money on a guy and then you buy somebody better.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying in the window go and get an old hired hand. I'm saying, but your scouting intelligence, is there a young one, like Spurs got Tell? Spurs got Matisse Tell, who looks at nice player, who's at the top end of the pitch, he's got he scored goals, he's got a little bit of history behind him. Is there one of those out there?
Well, there was... It's just his temperament was questioned in John Duran. John Duran. No, I'm not saying that would have happened. The Villa would have. But he's left the football club for crazy money.
60 or whatever.
And he's a Premier League scorer. And he's a really good age, 23 or something like that, John Duran. Now, again, I think there's enough out there that his attitude, his professionalism, it might not have been, but somebody like that that's younger, that's going to play a little bit, and if they go and buy somebody big time in the summer, it's still okay because he's the future and he's... I'm not saying he's the guy, but that's the sort of profile. A young guy that could go on and be really good. But they're hard. They're hard to find. So regrets maybe. And it's easier said than when Kai Havertz, who's the most durable player at the club, goes down with an injury on a blimmin' trip where they're meant to be rested and recovery, which must be infuriating. They fell short. And by the way, Graham Potter, the right guy for that club, is going to take a little bit of time. I watch his teams play. I'm not saying it's a Potter team, but here it is. There's the width. There's the width aside. There they try and play.
They'll get it out.
There's a real nice structure and shape about it. And I like him.
He's got a plan, and he's
it's a great result for them.
Yeah, great result for West Ham. Let's go to Villa Park, where two teams vying for Champions League spots. Aston Villa, decent home record against a Chelsea team that have fallen off a little bit. It was Chelsea who went 1-0 ahead, and then the story became a team that did do some business in the window. Marco Asensio and Marcus Rashford, who end up Rashford assisting on 2, Asensio getting 2. I think these two teams were possibly vying for a similar kind of spot in terms of 4th or 5th in a table that might, obviously 5th may be a Champions League spot. Chelsea, obviously, things not quite going to plan for Maresco having started so well. For Villa, though, Rob, to get those two players in to get that result, still in the Champions League, obviously playing it, but finishing in a top 4 spot,
it's still critical.
Still critical to this team if they want to keep that kind of improvement going and evolving into one of those regular teams in the top 6.
And that's not easy to do. But can you imagine, like, we know where this club's going, right? And the ambition, that the money that they're prepared to spend. I mean, and the Champions League campaign has been absolutely magnificent for the club. Brilliant nights at Villa Park, great results, finishing the top 8. And they're still, obviously, who knows how far they'll go. And those January signings, I mean, that's smacks of ambition. Big time players that they're a little bit you're trying to regenerate them a little bit.
Correct.
Asensio and Rashford that have fallen away a little bit, but they're looking really, really bright in the game, in the club right now. There's one thing that Villa showed that Chelsea could do with a bit of. And that's spirit. That's real character. This club has had a zillion games. They got one brought forward against Liverpool in the week, which was brought forward because of the League Cup final for Liverpool. And, they've struggled at home a little bit. They've done a lot of draws. They've had injury issues. They've had to play a lot of games, these big European games, and yet they go 1-0 behind, and they've got so much spirit, driven on by the fans
and the manager. By the way, every time you look at the shot of the manager, he's pointing, Rob. He's getting people going. He's falling out. He's arguing with his subs, but he's in it.
And there has been, I want to say, like, it could be easy to sort of like, we've got to come back again. And there's been a couple of games where I think I've been critical of Villa, like, God, they're pretty dead today, pretty flat.
It hasn't quite been,
but maybe that's to be expected given the amount of games that they have. But my goodness, I mean, so much respect for this team and some of these players, Rob, that can find a way to come back and win from an early setback.
And he's got a decent squad starting to build with the extra players he's got in. And
he's still got tons of injuries. Ross Barkley's out, Pau Torres, one of the best centre-backs, is out. Onana, the powerhouse in midfield, Boubacar Kamara, who's been playing centre-back brilliantly, but he's an excellent midfield player. Disasi couldn't play against the parent club Chelsea. Ezri Konsa was a doubt, but he played.
He played, didn't he?
And Bailey was a doubt, but he played. So I just was really impressed with Aston Villa and the story and where they are now and where they want to be.
It's a bit of, as you say, it's a bit of who Chelsea need to become, because there's talent there, there's young players, but sometimes you've got to dig deep, mate. You've got to get together and pull it out, you know what I mean? Hang in there a little bit.
If you're the manager, this is silly, like, but sorry, man.
Go on,
to Chelsea team, run the highlights of that game a little bit, show that Villa comeback, and go and watch Liverpool. Show highlights of Liverpool and what it means to win in different ways. I sometimes feel with these young players at Chelsea, like they want to do it the pretty perfect way.
They want to look good. It's where I was going. Like, someone want to look good and all that. Do you know what? Who I would say, and I think I might mention it. John McGinn, my friend. John McGinn. Little Scottish midfield player who doesn't look like he's got the natural physique of a football, but great energy and gets around the pitch. He never stops trying and being involved. And I know, to other fans sometimes he can be a pain in the backside, but he enough got a bit of grit about him.
And he's got a substantial backside, which he uses all the time to shield the ball.
People off.
But no, you're right. Of a player that's getting the best
out of himself. He ain't got the Chalobah and the Enzos and the thing. But I tell you what, having him in my team every day of the week.
I love him in my team. Also, Yuri Tillemans. I'm not sure whether we've mentioned him a little bit in the last couple of weeks, but
coming on to a game, isn't he?
Just coming on, he's just so much quality, and what a good pickup that was, Robert, for a free transfer.
From
so, I mean, brilliant from Aston Villa. Really, really good. Great spirit. Rashford with his assists. I don't know if he's coming. Maybe it's going to take a little bit of time.
He looks a bit happier, Rob. Looks like he's playing with a little bit more happiness and freedom, and that's at least good to see. So, good story for Villa.
Just on Chelsea, Rob. I'm not sure you were going to go there, but Is there going to be extra scrutiny? Is there going to be extra scrutiny on Enzo Maresca, the Chelsea manager? I just feel like the Chelsea fans aren't very patient. They're not a very patient bunch. It's a young project.
Well, this is kind of change, aren't they? If success doesn't come, they used to change.
Yeah.
I think he's got to get Champions League football, Rob. I think Champions League football is quite a key.
If he doesn't, then the scrutiny is going to be...
Yeah, it's a big loss in terms of revenue to this club, and they spend money.
A good and a bad for Chelsea. I kind of like Pedro Neto as a false nine.
Was different.
Kind of liked him.
Yeah.
I feel like with Neto, the more involved he is in the game,
in the central area,
he looks more impressive. I don't want to see him pinned down a little bit in the wide. I mean, he's great in wide areas as well, and he's been excellent. But I kind of liked him in that role. And then the goalkeeper, Philip Jorgensen.
Alarm bells continue to ring. Robert Sanchez is on the bench because he's made 5 errors, the most in the league. Jorgensen doesn't look like he's going to... I mean, that is one of those issues, Rob. If you get all the rest of your team set up great, right, we know what we're doing, and that guy in goal continues to let you ain't going to win games.
It's deflating.
Go and get that sorted. That's a big piece for Chelsea Football Club.
Another piece, I think, which is interesting in this game, I really feel like, and there's a really good piece of analysis, Rob, on a YouTube video. There's some analysis, people doing some great analysis online. I think it was it was a 4-4-2. There's a really good guy, 4-4-2, doing some analysis on this. And he talked about what's gone on at Chelsea and missing physicality, which I agree with. Lavi's been out injured, and Wesley Fofana, a player that you know I love as a defender. Now, it wasn't maybe given kind of thinking about that, that Reece James popped up in midfield
didn't he?
for more steel. And he just sits in there, and he's just powerful, and he'll sit alongside Caicedo. Gusto was the wide position.
Gusto was wide. Enzo was on the other side.
Is that part of what's missing? Because I think it is, Rob. Steel in this team. Character.
Stealing a bit of know-how. Stealing a bit of, like, hey guys, this next 5 minutes, get in here and let's just sit in.
Let's sit out a little bit. Durability.
Durability. But, I mean, problem with Reece James, unfortunately, is at the moment he can't trust his body to get him through a number of games. We'll have to see if nursing him through is the way. But good win for Villa. Still more work for Chelsea to do. Let's go to Goodison Park for the last time Manchester United were going to visit the great old stadium. I mean, great story with David Moyes, now Everton manager, was Manchester United manager, got sacked after losing to Everton when he was Man United manager. There was all that stuff going on. Classic game of two halves. Everton had the first half, Beto and Doucouré with the 2 goals. They were 2-0 up at half-time. Work for Amorim to do. In fairness, United were better second half. Bruno Fernandes free kick, Ugarte with a shot from the edge of the box. We had a big moment, a VAR controversy that came up at the end of that game. Just talk through the game itself and the start, Rob.
I think there's a couple of things, Rob, that we should get to pretty quickly, where we're a little different on it.
Yeah, for sure.
I think in general the game, Everton, high press first half.
Yeah.
United trying to play out, awkward.
Yeah,
didn't really work very well. Yeah. Made it scrappy.
Yeah.
Set piece power. Yeah. Everton first half won it. Yeah. Second half they dropped off a little bit. Understandable. Yeah. When you go ahead in the game like that, 2-0 up at half time, dropped off a little bit, allowed Man United to start playing, and there was pockets of United play that many of them, but there's pockets that it's Dorgu, Patrick Dorgu.
Yeah, on the left-hand side.
I think, he's still young, he's 20 years of age. I think he's decent. Yeah. He can get behind you, he's got good energy.
You've got to remember, they don't have much control of games to get him in, but can you imagine in a team that controlling some of that midfield area?
He's going to get a lot of ball.
He's going to get a lot of ball.
Yeah. So there was that part of it. I mean, the front, the front part of the team, there's nothing going on.
Dysfunctional.
I'm a big fan of Garnacho. When you haven't got Rashford now, and I understand why, and you've still got Garnacho, I want him up there. I want him up there. I don't want Xerxes playing right now. Well,
he playing at 10, didn't he? And Højlund at the top of the pitch.
So when you looked at that, there wasn't much going on. The back players are slow. Mazraoui apart. De Ligt is slow. Harry Maguire is slow. And this goes back to where we'll get to in a second in terms of how they're playing. And there's no hiding places, Rob. That's what's going on with this manager. Let's do the controversy first in terms of the right at the end. Then we'll get to the changes and all that. So red penalty was awarded for a pull on Ashley Young
by De Ligt in the penalty box as the goalkeeper's parried the ball. VAR asked the referee to come to the monitor to have a look at it to be sure he was happy with his on-field decision. When he gets there, he sees the pull, but I assume he sees Ashley Young go to ground as if his legs have been taken. And it was deemed that the pull was not significant enough to warrant the action.
It was a clear and obvious error.
It was a clear and obvious error to give the penalty kick. There was no foul.
I agreed with it. And by the way, this is going to split. This is very subjective. You know, it's just whether it was clear and obvious or not. I mean, when I first saw it, I thought, he's got a little bit of shirt, but my goodness, Ashley Young's made a meal of that. He's absolutely jumped up in the air, threw his left leg back to make more contact, make more of it. Where maybe if he just pulls up and says, I can't get, then maybe he would have got it and been turned around. I had no problem with how this occurred. I understand the little bit of contact. And I understand the VAR saying, I'm not sure there's significant impactful. Remember, that's always the word that we meant to. The referees told us at the start of the season that they're looking for impactful contact to be a penalty. And the VAR is basically saying, I'm not sure that's enough. There is a little pull, but we've seen pulls before.
There's a bigger pull that we saw a couple of shots where Delict's basically pulling back with his shirt. Now, if Ashley Young can get to that ball, I thought, I agree with you, I thought Ashley Young oversold it.
Yeah, he did.
If somebody pulls your shirt, your legs don't go. You kind of lose your balance and go backwards. You don't dive forward go horizontal. Yeah. So I think that action was almost like the VAR saying, come and look at this, because look what he's done having been pulled. I think there was enough pull, though, to have given a kick. And again, it's Swiss decision. It could have gone either way. I have a huge issue. Listen, I'm not having fun with it being rescinded, but
Mike, the producer, said he's pulled back, but he dives forward.
Which is a great way of putting it, wasn't it? Yeah. So listen. In the end, maybe 2-2 is a fair result. Let's get to the crux of where we had a debate at the weekend that we put out on social media. People liked it. Some agreed with me. Some agreed with you. Some somewhere in between. In terms of Ruben Amorim and the progression at this football club, for the rest of this season, in terms with this group of players. Now, what is the best way to go forward for Amorim, the club, and/or maybe the fans? Listen, the fans have to take what's given, but in terms of Manchester United Football Club right now, you have a certain belief in the way Ruben Amorim should stick to what he believes in and see this thing through, regardless of what's going to happen in terms of results and position in the league.
Kind of. Now, that being said, the back three and the wing backs, they're kind of pretty much set. The rest of it, he has changed a little bit. Sometimes there's three in midfield, there's two up front, often two in midfield and three kind of spread around the top line there. And I think there's pockets that you see improvement. I like the fact, Rob, and this is where I like the fact that he stripped it back and he's like, I'm not gonna set this team up to cover over our deficiencies. So when Maguire's not quick, previous managers, Erik Ten Hag and others, have changed the way that they play to suit or to help what they've got. And a lot of people out there might be saying, well, that's what he should do, right? So, okay then. So I know you're an advocate of getting back to trying to, well, all I'd say is, all right then, let's play deeper. Let's people put back in the front line. And let's help. And let's go back to last year then. Erik Ten Hag did all that.
You're telling me I have to go deeper. No, I don't have to go deeper. I can play a different way with that. I can play, between. I don't have to be a high line and I don't have to be deep.
They're not a super high line.
No, I'm not saying, but I'm just saying I have a whole raft of choices that I can make to suit. The difference between, I think, the fundamental difference between us is that I agree with you in terms of, listen, he's decided to go that way. And he came out very early, and I was a bit like, when he said it, I'm going to be this way, whatever happens. And I was thinking, putting himself in the corner, I don't know, do you think you need to do that? But that's fine if that's what you want to do. And listen, I just don't like the free hit. So I don't think 15th is acceptable at Manchester United with this group of players, Rob. I do not think it's acceptable. And I think anything less is worse. My major point comes to where your argument is that he's stripping it back. The three centre-halves aren't quick and blah, blah, blah. He's going to play a certain way. So of this group of players who are probably not going to play in your system, what's the benefit? They're not going to play in your system because they're not good enough. Or if they are going to play, or do you think he's going to teach Dillett, he's going to teach Maguire, he's going to teach Yoro or Mazraoui how to play? So is this part of improving.
There's part of understanding how they're trying to do it, and he's sort of saying that he feels it's getting better in the training ground, though it's hard to see it on match days.
Yeah, we don't see it on match days.
Also, like, this is a tactical thing then. And all I would say is, are we not over-emphasising or the importance of tactics? Like, they might get a little bit better. Yeah, all right, if so, it says, you know what, I get it, let's go to a back four, let's go 4-3-3, what they're for more familiar, and try and get some wins for morale and spirit and everything else. Well, what if it's not much better?
Yeah, it might be 10
or 15, 20% much better. It might even be as bad.
I'm not saying... What I'm trying to say is, sometimes you have to look at your group of players, like some of the players who are playing in the system, we're seeing the worst parts of them because of the way the team is set up.
We saw the best parts of them last year then, Rob.
No, sure,
right?
but that was under a different manager. If Andoni Iraola went into Bournemouth, a team that under Gary O'Neill, we were okay, and he played with it, he's taken them to another level, Rob, as a coach. Oliver Glasner's come into a Crystal Palace team playing exactly the same system that Amorim wants to play. Yeah. He's come in, and they're a different team from the team that we saw that was okay. Yeah. So I'm saying that you have to sometimes look at your players. Now, JP Matata couldn't score under Roy Hodgson. He can't stop scoring under Glasner. So I'm saying a different system. And I'm not saying you have to be 4-4-2, you have to be this or that. But I'm saying, is there another way of playing with this group of players right now to get us more results, build confidence? And in the summer, when I've got time, not midway through a season, when I've got 6 weeks of work, where I can start going through the rigours of a system. I just think midway in the season, to put this group of players who don't fit, Rob, it doesn't fit them, I don't think you're gaining anything. I
just don't know whether going backwards to what something that Ten Hag did.
No, but you're saying we've got to play Ten Hag way. We don't have.
Ten Hag placated what he had. He sort of like Marcus.
Didn't play 4-2-3-1.
He played different ways, but it was always about protecting. Play three in midfield. If it was Casemiro, he'd make sure there's two guys either side of him. If it was Marcus Rashford, actually, Marcus, you stay high. We'll figure it out. He tried to help it. He tried to do what you're saying and suit the strategy to his players. And where did it get him? Okay. It got him in a miserable way of playing. They finished 8th in what a new manager, and he's bringing in a new way. And it's difficult.
I get it. If Ruben Amorim was given the Liverpool job, and there was talk that they looked at him, would he go into the back 3-4-3 with the Liverpool Football Club, having just won?
I think he would. That's the way he knows.
And he wouldn't win the title. The title's only been won by a team who plays at the back once.
Well, so now you're questioning the formation as a strategy for any club.
I'm saying the strategy of a 3 at the back has not been that successful in Premier League football.
I might come back and say the percentage of teams that do that hasn't been that great. And listen, you're right. I'm thinking of the Conte Chelsea, aren't we? Who switched to that system, and that made a difference. I think systems, Rob, are like. Don't you think it's just like 10, 20% difference? 20% difference to your Bournemouth and that? It's more about the players.
Of course it is. So we're agreeing on the same thing. It's more about the players. But right now, I don't think this system is helping the players, is my closing argument.
I look at them now as my closing argument, and I see struggles and bad performances, and it's ringing in my head, these players aren't good enough. Let's stop thinking about managers and what they're doing with it, the previous guys, to try and make it work. It's about the players. And until they get better ones...
That's going to be a long... That's
it might be. Term. It might be, because of their financial, of the rules of spending money. But, I just try to move forward and try to stick with it. But anyway, differences. Oh, boy. They give us plenty of things to talk about.
They always give us plenty of things to talk about. And it's going to be a great watch between now and the end of the season, Rob. And what is acceptable and what do they...
When you say acceptable, like, what if it's not acceptable? What are you going to do then?
Well, something might have to happen.
Well, what?
I'm not saying
if they finish 17th place, Man United...
Listen, I like the guy. I think he's smart. I think he's a good coach. I think he understands the game. He's a great communicator. I'm talking about ownership, Rob, of Ineos, who took down Ashworth and ended up having to pay $5 million to get rid of him.
I mean, they extended it to Ten Hag a contract, 10 million.
Giving 10 million. So this isn't a guy who's just pulled out of cycling. He's just pulled out, I think, of F1. This isn't a guy who's going to sit there and go, oh, you know what, it doesn't matter. Have a free hit. Brailsford and the rest of them. Those are the people you've got to appease. Those are the people you've got to say, listen,
but there's got to be...
give me time. okay, we finished 15th this season. That's a terrible finish. But next year, I'll be better with the 4 players you bring me. But I've still got 6 or 7 of those others.
Because the squad now is shockingly...
Yeah.
Is correct. Shockingly
un-Man
United-like.
Do you sense
and
this
that's
group
the
are going to spend the kind
thing.
of money to sort this squad out? Do you see a big war chest of money? One through PSR and 2 through players on... Casemiro's on $300,000 a week. $300,000, $400,000 a week. He ain't running to go anywhere, mate.
It's very messy, mate. We agree on a lot of this, isn't it? And it's very messy, but that's the way that this does turn around in a really exciting way, is by changing a lot of the players.
Yeah,
there might be incremental improvement, but you're not going to go... If they brought in the best manager on the planet right now, or both 2 of them to manage this squad, they're not getting much above 8th what they managed last year. Anyway, we've gone back to it. I thought we'd finished.
Let's go to other results, my friend, because it was a great weekend. St James's Park was Newcastle United having lost 4-0 against Manchester City, looking for a reaction. Talk about, Eddie's team can turn up for big days and not others. End up going 1-0 down, 4-1 up before half-time. Incredible.
It's good.
Yeah, a brace from Isak, and then Nottingham Forest sort of come back into the game second half, score a couple of goals, so end up at 4-3 in the end right at the last minutes, and Newcastle are slightly hanging on, but a good 3 points. A good reaction for Eddie Howe's team after last weekend.
It's a funny thing, Rob. Again, we sort of differed on this one a little bit before the game. I'm like, they need to find a little bit of a different way. Like, we know they can do the power thing, and we saw it today, and you said, do you know what, stick with it. That's what they're great at. Try and find a way to do that most weeks. And I think it's so difficult to do that. And we saw both those sides in the same game. Yeah. We saw the power in the first half. They blew Forest away. They've got one of the best defensive records in the league. And yet second half, they didn't have the nous to kill it with possession to slow down. A bit like Liverpool can and do. But you got to love the way they play. And
I just thought it was a great English football game. Like goals, tackles,
2 proper clubs.
Going at, we saw the best and the worst of both clubs
over the 90 minutes.
Yeah. But I thought it was great. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, my friend, is go to my underappreciated performer of the week, because we do have those. I'm going to go for a young man who's 18 years of age, who's come through the Newcastle Academy called Lewis-Skelly, who's a little diamond.
He is a little diamond.
Through all the youth academies, England academies. Is an influence on teams. I saw him playing in the Champions League, Rob, when Newcastle were there last time. I remember playing one Champions League game I was watching, and this kid's ability to regulate a game, to take a touch, to always have a calmness.
What is it about him? He's not super quick. He ain't got amazing feet. It doesn't like he's super physical.
I know,
he looks classy.
He's classy. He's always got time, Rob, and he's got space, which is we know in a midfield that we play in, it's not easy. I tell you what, and without name dropping, I was once in the company of Arsene Wenger, and he was talking about players, and he said to me about Cesc Fabregas, and I said, what's so great about Cesc Fabregas? What's the thing that? And he said to me, he makes more right decisions than any player I've ever worked with. And I was like, what, you worked with Bergkamp? But you said, Cesc Fabregas. Yeah. And I get the sense Lewis-Skelly's one of them.
Yeah, I mean, that's high praise, isn't it? And that's a big comparison. But what you mean is in midfield, there's a zillion choices.
Like, do I play the first time? Do I take a touch? He makes good decisions.
He's got a lovely touch, has a lovely flow on the ball. There's something about the way he plays. I know Eddie Howe was asked about him in his press conference, and he said he could do anything in the game.
Yeah,
so he can.
They see him every day in and out.
They do, and he's had a foot injury.
Yeah,
he's right back in, Rob. I guess he's underappreciated, plus definitely one to watch.
Yeah.
And that's a hard midfield to get into, by the way. Tonali's on the bench, Marley played.
And also, just to that point, I know we've hit this point a few times, but for teams like Newcastle with this PSR, that academy and bringing players through is golden, mate.
It is golden.
It's absolutely golden, and that's something Newcastle have to get back to. I know there's big money coming in, and I know with Saudi ownership, but that academy, the great Gazers and Lee Clarks and all, it's produced a lot of talent from that part of the world.
It really has. John, just Forest fading a little bit, like.
Ish, but I think everybody's waiting for that. Oh, this is where it goes. I still think they're
still brilliant. Even if they are fading, they're fading to brilliant, impressive.
Third in the table, still ahead of Manchester City with 26 games.
3 points ahead of Man City.
European football, Rob. I mean, Champions League would be brilliant, but European football for Forest, from what they've come back to, was it 32 points last season? Like 47 points.
It's one of the stories. It's one of the stories of the season. And that owner, the flamboyance, all the players coming in, calm Nuno to settle all down. Yeah. Brilliant. All right.
Let's go to Ipswich Town. The Tractor Boys finding it difficult to make a mark, Rob. Playing good football, getting a lot of plaudits, but not getting a lot of points.
Hard. And
a 4-1 defeat at home to Tottenham Hotspur. Brennan Johnson coming back in, getting a couple of goals. Jed Spence, young player who's doing particularly well, and Kulusevski finishing things off.
They look good.
Spurs look pretty good, didn't
they? Look good.
You saw a bit of this game.
Saw this, and I closely on this one. And just firstly with Ipswich, they just... And it's a little bit similar to the other teams down there, Rob. And we've talked about this weekend with the promoted 3 that are down there, watched all the games. They look exhausted. They look like, God, we've tried everything. And Ipswich have tried everything. They've bought loads of players. The manager's bright. He's changed his style for the Premier League. They've done everything right as a football club. They've got great support. And still, it just shows you how hard it is. Spurs, by the way, ticked all the boxes for me. There's no complaints from people, pundits watching Spurs play like that. There was composure about it. The football was really good. There has been a freshness, and to be fair to him, Ange, he said it all along. We're exhausted. It's every few days, all the injuries, all the muscle injuries, and they've had a little bit of a break. There's going to be FA Cup weekends now off for them, so they got more little breaks. They've got European competition to come back up again. But I just thought it was a really good day, Rob, and that's what makes me feel with Ange. I want to see it. I want to see it come through to the conclusion. I don't want to see him under pressure and I want to see where this goes, because it's exciting football to watch. And I think the fans like him. I think they like the approach. When it gets a little bit gung-ho-y, it's like, what are you doing? But this was a little bit better. I'm going to roll on to my underappreciated performer. And you touched on him, Jed Spence. Jed Spence. This is a powerful, if I don't say so myself, shout for an underappreciated player that's had to hang around Spurs, with Udogie playing on the left, with Pedro Parra playing at right back. He's had an opportunity through a zillion injuries. He plays at left back and plays really well, makes an impact. And now he starts this game, Pedro Parra dropping to and playing at right back. He's got an energy about him. Now we know he's fired up kid, and he's got a bit of an attitude. And a bit of swagger about him, but my goodness, hasn't he played well?
And he's come through adversity, mate. I heard Ange saying in the press conference, I listened to his press conference before the game, and he said, I tested him once or twice. I didn't play him in this game, didn't take him. I just wanted to see how he'd react, and he said every time the reaction was exactly what I wanted.
I remember Antonio Conte saying,
we
signed just that's a club signing.
That's
a club signing. It wasn't my signing.
So you've got to get through
adversity.
And sort of hold you're standing in the dressing room when the manager's kind of almost biffing you off, like, you ain't really up to our standard, lads. So fair play to him. And there's even talk, Rob, about England.
I know, there is talk, I know.
It's super quick.
In the fullback,
He can play in either fullback position.
Who does he remind me of? Who's the Canadian left back at Bayern Munich? Alphonso Davies.
Alphonso Davies,
Like raw. Like quick.
A lot of good.
Look and do things, and he's an attacking type of player.
Raw material.
Raw material, Jed Spence. Well done.
Really good shout. Well done to Spurs. Bournemouth 0, Wolves 1. Massive result for Wolves. Our friend Matthias Cunha again with the goal. Well, when Zaboni got sent off for a slightly over the ball challenge.
That's a red card. That's a big moment.
The right call. And great, Victor Pereira's fist pumping, mate. Wolves win again. He loves it, doesn't he?
He loves it, doesn't he? And
got personality.
He has got personality. And to be fair, he's been talked up a bit. He's like, we ain't going down.
Yeah, he's done.
We're going to play it. So fair play. And this weekend feels pretty definitive at the top. That gives them a bit of gap now. Wolverhampton Wanderers. What's that there? Where are we? We've got the right table.
They're a 5-point gap now, aren't they? Yeah, they're there. 17
to 20.
Gap.
Yeah.
To the bottom.
So that was a big.
Another week or two.
That was a big result.
You got
Cunha's decent. He's really good, isn't he?
Signed a big contract. We'll have to wait and see if he's still there at the end of the season.
And the other strugglers.
Leicester 0, Brentford 4. This was a Friday game. I think you worked on this one, didn't you, with Danny? And
gosh, I mean,
it's a bad watching. Car crash in it.
It was bad. Like they started okay the first 5 or 10 minutes, and they got
a couple of chances, didn't they?
Yeah, Vardy went through. Goalkeeper made a couple of saves, but it was short-lived. They got battered. Brentford are good. Brentford have got a lovely front four at the moment with Damsgaard, pulling the strings for the wide players, and Wieser and Burma gets goals again. And Leicester look, again I said it earlier, Rob, they looked the first team I saw the weekend with the bottom ones, and they look exhausted. Fans are, been there. Been there. When you're struggling at home,
negative energy,
it's negative. There's booing every time the ball goes. And Van Nistelrooy was an odd appointment. We were like, wow, where's this come from? And he's struggling. To the point, I mean, maybe it changes now with that.
26.
When I did the game on Friday, at the end of the game, there was a 2-point gap. And I'm thinking, Van Nistelrooy, I'm sorry, let's do a quick change. Sean Dyche might be available or anybody else because they're still in touch. Now with that Wolves victory, I don't know. Is it worth changing, Rob, for Leicester?
Well, I think it is, Rob.
Because they got a lot worse. Because they got a lot worse.
Yeah, it's a gamble. If they've got worse and if you feel we're going to go anyway, then why would you not take a gamble? I mean, I don't know in terms of paying out. I'm not sure if they'll do that or, the Van Nistelrooy name is in them. And I'm a bit disappointed for him and the football club because I thought... he had a decent reputation at PSV. He did a couple of days at United, which you can't really count on him, but he looked there. And I kind of thought this was a good opportunity for him.
You did, yeah, I know.
Doesn't really... I mean, defensively, they're worse than they were.
And experience of relegation, Rob. Experience of struggle.
That's what a Dyche might bring you, might he?
Yeah.
Just know how to shore things up.
He didn't play in that sort of situation.
Look at what Moyes gone in at Everton.
Just experience of what it takes. They've tried to play, and I see the system and all that. Well, this is clever.
Playing out.
It's hard. It's hard.
Another team we're down there struggling. Southampton 0, Brighton 4. I mean Southampton look like it's done and dusted for them.
Done and dusted.
Shame.
Yeah.
Brighton get the goals. Fulham 0, Crystal Palace 2. So Palace continuing good form in a London derby. Joachim Anderson with an own goal. Former Palace player and Munoz, who we like him.
We had him as underappreciated a couple of months ago, didn't we?
He'd be brilliant for Man United, didn't he?
Yeah, he's right wing back.
Right wing back, knows his role. Colombian international, who does well. All right, my friend, that leaves it for this weekend, where I think we're sorting it's kind of becoming a bit of a definitive weekend in the Premier League. At the top, Arsenal lost at home to the Hammers, while Liverpool overcome the reigning champions at the Etihad. And at the bottom, it almost looks like the 3 promoted teams are going to be heading back to the Championship, all losing heavily over match week 26. We'll be back Wednesday, that's February the 26th, when we'll recap match week 27 and all those midweek fixtures that include Spurs versus Manchester City, Nottingham Forest versus Arsenal, and Liverpool versus Newcastle. But for now, I'm Earl, he's Musty, together with the 2 Robbies. Thanks for watching and listening. Be safe, stay healthy. It's a good night from me.
And it's good night from him. Good night.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Lowe, and as we head towards the end of an exciting Premier League season, make sure you like and subscribe on the NBC Sports YouTube channel for more content like this.